now call upon Ms. Dorothy Tembo, Deputy Executive Director, International Trade Center, Geneva, for the theme address.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to you all. Your Excellency, Secretary General of UNCTAD, Dr. Mukisa Kitui, Mr. Kamal Moraka, Chairman of MVIRDC, World Trade Center here in Mumbai, Honorable Ministers, may I simply say, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation to address you at this 6th Global Economic Summit on the theme of women's empowerment and entrepreneurship. Our starting point is the 1945 Charter of the United Nations, which as part of its Chapter 3, Article 8, lays the foundation of equality between men and women. And since then, efforts have been made by women over the decades to try and translate this good intent into concrete action. From the declaration of International Women's Year in 1997, and the first Women's Conference being held in New Mexico, to Copenhagen in 1980, Nairobi in 1985, culminating into Beijing 95, when world leaders gathering in China agreed on the importance of women's empowerment through the Beijing Platform for Action. Since then, we know that there have been many efforts that have been made towards trying to see women's empowerment and gender equality being featured in various public and private sector debates and actions. The result over the years has been a lot of progress in a number of critical areas affecting women, including the right to serve in public office, where we now have, for example, Rwanda's majority female parliament, the right to an education, where, for example, by 2012, North Africa had already almost achieved gender parity in primary education, as well as the representation in the media, where in India, many women have broken through the glass ceiling. Additionally, many governments over the years have unilaterally taken some positive strides towards putting in place national policies, legislation, resources to address women's issues. All these efforts need to be recognized and applauded, as they have to some extent brought about some transformation and positive changes in some of the women's lives. Notwithstanding, it is also a fact that no country has managed to demonstrate that they have closed their gender gaps. Today, I am here to share with you and highlight one key area in which there is enormous room for improvement worldwide, including here in India, as is the case for many other countries that have taken steps in the right direction. And this is economic empowerment of women in our economies. Those of you that may not know who we are, ITC is a joint agency of the United Nations and the World Trade Organization, which was established over 50 years ago to help small business owners from developing countries to enhance their competitiveness and gain a greater share of the benefits of the global economy. Over this half century, one of the biggest imbalances that we see exist in the realm of women in the economy and the women entrepreneurship has been what has been very glaring in terms of the work that we have undertaken. Globally, women comprise 49.6% of the population. That is half of humanity. This proportion of statistics, to a large extent, is also replicated at national level in a number of countries. In India, for example, the statistics are much the same. Women comprise 48.5% of the 1.3 billion Indian population. However, it also remains a fact that in many of these countries, this large female sector of the society and of the economy is not being fully harnessed and capitalized upon. The statistics on women's access to business opportunities and their integration in the economy pale in comparison to that of men. In developed countries like the United States, which ranks comparatively higher in female entrepreneurship, has some of the more progressive preferential policies for women-owned businesses. Less than 30% business owners are women. In developing countries where my organization works, such as Botswana, Egypt, Tunisia, the percentage of women-owned businesses are as low as 3%. As much as 90% of countries have at least one law impeding women's economic opportunities. The World Bank, in their Women, Business and Law 2016 report, has broken this down further for us. A total number of legal gender differences in the 173 economies that they covered as part of this work has yielded a report that indicates that there are 943 differences that are prevailing in these economies. Here in India, it is reported that at least there are 4 legal gender differences impeding women's participation in the economy. The numbers might vary, and I think what we have to really focus on is the underlying thread. There is or there are widespread gender inequalities in the global economy caused by many factors, amongst which are the legal, political, regulatory, cultural, and the other impediments to female entrepreneurship. In September of 2015, the United Nations membership adopted the 2030 Agenda with a clear goal of improving lives for all. The economic empowerment of women is a cornerstone of the Sustainable Development Goals, with trade as one of the central the vehicles of delivery. In particular, Goals 5, 8, and 10 of the SDGs represent a giant leap in the right direction. The United Nations Secretary General has taken this a step further in establishing a special UN high-level panel of women's economic empowerment, which underscores the business case, the development case, as well as the economic case for women's economic empowerment, and ultimately helped cement women's economic empowerment in the global political agenda. It remains important that as women working with the men that are accompanying this process, we do not lose focus on this and take advantage of the opportunity that has been created through the opening of this window. The question we need to ask ourselves. We have for some time, I think, done research work that gives us a very clear sense of what the gaps are. I think what needs to be done now is to try and see how we can bridge these gaps. What those problems are, I think many of you in this room are very much aware of, and we repeatedly keep coming back to them. It is the action that has to go with this and make us move from intent to action, and from action to making sure that we are, in an inclusive way, making sure that we are making those transactions happen. We are making those transactions happen to make sure that the income is generated, that the employment is created, and indeed that we are giving the power that needs to be given to the woman to be in the position to make their own decisions about their lives, their families, their communities, and their countries, and globally. And I think this, for me, is really the key, and this is part of what we have to be doing collectively to see what it is that we can do in terms of the specific action going forward. Going forward from this event, from the many events that are going to be taking place in different spheres at different times, but in a very coordinated manner to approve, to achieve that goal. What is it that ITC is specifically doing? In response to the SDG goal to achieve gender equality, ITC gathered its global network of company partners, government leaders, women's entrepreneurship, and civil society to define the key barriers that women face and the actions that could be taken to help more women access business opportunities and gain a greater share of the benefits of the global economy. The result of these consultations is the SheTrades initiative, a global initiative aimed at connecting 1 million women to market by 2020. SheTrades spells out 7 critical areas in which women in business across the developing world are most hindered. I will share with you a few of these in the interest of time. First is the critical area of the limited availability of data related to women's economic empowerment. Information is power. Unless you know, you will not be able to know where it is that you need to do better or where it is that you have been doing well, and indeed where it is that you may not have known about and you need to do more of. And therefore, we're pushing very hard, working with our strategic partners to address this particular area, to try and disaggregate various trade-related information with a gender dimension to it, but also ensuring that we drill it down to the entrepreneur or to the company levels so that people have this information. Second point, through SheTrades, we have launched an interactive SheTrades web and mobile application for women-owned businesses to register and become verified women-owned companies so that buyers, whether from companies or governments or those interested to find women suppliers, have ready access. And I will come back to that point at the end of my statement. The SheTrades app is easy to use and has a swipe functionality that is based on HS code classification and services categorization that enables buyers to find women entrepreneurs, as I said earlier on. Much more, however, needs to be done on the issue of data. Reports from companies like McKinsey and the World Economic Forum we find extremely useful in helping governments and corporate buyers shape their policies and procurement practices. However, we need much more country level and company level to see real transformation in this area. ITC did just that in its first ever Unlocking Markets for Women Trade report, but we strongly see this as just a drop in the ocean in terms of what needs to be done, and clearly where much more work needs to be taken forward. Related to the issue of quality data are 2 other areas of focus under SheTrades: government procurement and corporate procurement. Governments spend over 30% of GDP, that is expenditures in trillions, Unfortunately, the level of participation of women to these government business opportunities is running well under 1%. Similarly, supply chains of many corporations do not reflect enough gender supplier diversity. Less than 1% of spending by large businesses on suppliers is earned by women-owned businesses. Through ITC's Guide on Public Procurement, webinar training, and women vendors mentor groups, business-to-business meetings and partnerships with UN Global Compact and UN Women's Empowerment Principles, we have seen encouraging progress in the area of procurement. More and more countries and corporations are becoming aware of how to diversify their procurement awards. A recent example is in Chile, where the country has taken into place one of the most accessible public procurement systems in the world for micro and small enterprises, managed by Chile Compa, in an e-market where 90% of the companies are micro or small. Recognizing the importance of women economic empowerment, in 2015, Chile Compra also implemented a specific action to identify and tackle gender-specific barriers and facilitate women as suppliers. It started with endorsing regulatory modification throughout 2015, then went on to launch the Women's Supplier Certification to identify women-led enterprises or those with more than 50% female workers. More than 345 companies now have the certification. As a preliminary result of the actions taken, more than 36% of those participating in public procurement systems are women, which corresponds to more than 21,345 women offering or receiving purchase orders in 2016. There are also significant barriers in women business in policy and legislative arena, as I alluded to earlier on, including relation to asset ownership rights. In developing countries, a legal framework reinforces inequality of women that impede women's economic participation in trade. As before, in 155 economies, women do not have the same legal rights as men. Women face higher barriers to starting a business. We need to support women's participation by enshrining it in laws and policies. Again, in a recent Chile-Uruguay trade agreement, there has been a provision for an excellent example of practical steps that can actually be taken in this direction. In this agreement, there is an entire chapter on women economic empowerment. This is a first of its kind. Finally, there are two other critical areas which SheTrades targets: market access and access to financial services. The two are very much linked. Women face greater obstacles in setting up and growing their businesses. In fact, only 1 in 5 exporting companies in developing countries are women-owned. One key underlying reason that has been cited by the majority of women-owned SMEs that we have spoken to is the limitations they have in relation to access to finance. Ladies and gentlemen, all this we can do, and all this will take us in the right direction. But it is important that we also take a sustainable approach in terms of what we try to do with the interventions that we identify. It is one thing to move into a country and provide the necessary support that triggers or stimulates women participation in business. It is another to make sure that it's sustained beyond that intervention. And this is why, as part of the work that we are doing at ITC, we make sure that institutional capacity building is one of the key elements that is enshrined in the discharge of our responsibilities in working with these countries. We also very much understand that we have to be sensitive to the environmental issues. We have to be sensitive and responsible in the manner that we try to intervene in the sector work that we are doing. May I, as a last point on SheTrades, share with you that during the past year and a half, we have had some impressive results from SheTrades, both in terms of the numbers of commitments made to committing women to the market, which has already exceeded 800,000 as we speak today. So our target of 1 million was one that we had thought we could achieve in 2020. But I think the interest generated, and indeed the conviction that something has to be done about women's interest, is something that has proved to stimulate the commitments that that have been made to date. And as an organization, we will certainly be looking at revising this target upwards in the coming months. But what I wanted to say with respect to this, the SheTrades initiative is where partners are committing to playing different roles in the different aspects that I have outlined, which constitute SheTrades initiative. However, the challenge is what is behind that commitment. That is what is going to prove whether we really make it for women or we don't. And part of that responsibility lies with us as women. I also wanted to announce that our newest SheTrades champion is here in India, right here where we are standing, which is the World Trade Center of Mumbai and All India Association. Both of these have signed up to become verifiers of women-owned enterprises keen to use SheTrades web and mobile business network. And I wanted to perhaps end my conversation this morning, or my sharing with you this morning, with 3 aspects. One, I think it is important that I recognize the presence of the men here today and the men that have accompanied us in this process. I think they primarily acknowledge that there has to be equality between women and men. Otherwise, they would not be championing this cause. So I just wanted to applaud them. Second point I wanted to make is to all of us in here, more of a challenge. I think each and every single time we meet, we have different commitments being made. But at the end of the day, I want to challenge each one of us. There is something that you as an individual can do in terms of advancing women's interest. It starts in the home, it starts in the community, it starts in the nation, and it can be built to be global. And each one of you in those respective roles can actually champion that. In the home, when a girl child, a sister, a mother, an auntie, is given the signal that the sky is a limit, there is nothing that will hinder them from your side to actually try not to make them advance in that direction. They will thrive. When a woman is given the opportunity to manage a business, we have seen what can happen. Empower a woman. You are empowering a family, you are empowering a community, you are empowering a nation, you are empowering the world. In are a woman, she will reinvest in the business, in new business, in social needs, and indeed for any other potential saving that she may have to do. This we have proved from the work we have done in the many countries that we have been working with, which are over 200. And we clearly see that when that opportunity is presented, the women will take it and run with it. It is also a fact that this is not an agenda about women. This is an agenda for the world. We are 50% of the population. There is no better business case that we can make. I don't think we should even be justifying this. We are very much there, and we need to be part and parcel. Any development strategy that does not include women will not succeed, because you are leaving behind the 3 billion that oftentimes we put a cloud over and we don't see. You are leaving behind the 50% of the population that actually have the possibility and potential to take advantage. I think what we need is just to be enabled to kickstart us to be able to do what we can do. And the third point I wanted to get to, and here I think I will need the assistance of others, is to actually give you a snapshot of what SheTrades is all about.
Well, thank you, Dorothy ma'am, initially for setting the tone of this conference, which will see varied sessions over 2 days, today, tomorrow. On the third day, we'll be having site visits apart from the exhibitions, B2B meetings, and also for providing such significant information on SheTrades. Time now to launch the SheTrades app.
SheTrades, an initiative of ITC Geneva, seeks to connect 1 million women entrepreneurs to markets by 2020. World Trade Center Mumbai and All India Association of Industries are verifiers of SheTrade app. Register today, get connected, and explore business opportunities. Do not miss this opportunity. Download the SheTrades app now on your mobile and get connected to millions of buyers across the world. Contact WTC Mumbai and AIAI, the official verifiers, to activate your presence on this powerful network.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And welcome to WTC and all AIAI. Thank you.
Thank you once again.